Hello everyone, my name is Brian Pesiato and today I'm going to present circuit element. So, what are circuit elements? Well, today I'm going to talk about the basic circuit elements, but before we talk about it, I want you guys to know that we use circuit elements all the time. So, whenever we go outside, you see a stop sign, right? That's a circuit element. When you go to the sidewalk, you see a generator, which is another circuit element. And when you go home and when you switch on your lights, that is another circuit element. So circuit elements is everywhere. Is everywhere. Whenever we go, whenever we see, it's all around us. And to put it more terms, um, electronic devices have circuit elements as well. From video games like your PS4 or PS5, which you guys will buy, your phones, or even your computer that you're using right now for Zoom. Those have circuit elements. You can't see them, but the are in there, which allows it to run your devices. So that is what we're going to talk about. And there are three circuit elements which I am going to talk about, which is resistors, capacitors, and and, and explain more how they work in the real world. Now then, resistors. So resistors are two terminal electronical components that binds electrical resistance as a circuit element. It helps minimize the flow of electrical current. So as you can see this picture on the top right hand corner, you can see that is a resistors. That is one component that is in your devices which is being used. Now, resistance can be calculated by using Ohm's law. By using Ohm's law, we need to know which formula we need to use. So I have here a picture which is a triangle diagram, which is using the strategy of using Ohm's law. So as you can see, we have VRI, which represent voltage, resistors, and inducers, currents. And as you can see here, we have 3 Ohm's law formula. So we have I equals V over R. And we have the second one, we have V equals I times R. And R equals V divided by I. And so I want to calculate resistance. So how do I calculate? Well, as you can see here, we looked at the picture, and as you can see here, the third formula has R equals voltage divided by inducers, which means that resistors equals voltage divided by inducers. And that's the formula we need to use. Now, as you can see over to the second picture, I have here an example of how resistors are being used in the real world. So we have a battery and 2 resistors. So as you can see in the diagram, you see here that the voltage is being connected to 2 resistors and the current is flowing all around the current through 2 resistors and to the battery. So as you can see here, that is how the resistors works, because they are all part of the circuit. And for example, if we have if the battery is 50 volts and the resistance is like each of them is 10, then it will be easier to calculate how many volts they are. Okay, so now we're going to talk about capacitors, which is another circuit element that we will talk about. So that capacitors is another component used in electrical current. However, this one stores electrical energy. It used to store the amount of energy it can hold depending on how many voltages it can withstand. So let's say this capacitor holds 360 volts. That's my guess. And this amount of capacitor needs to hold 360 volts because if somehow it holds more than 360 volts, it will totally explode. Like, really explode. So be careful of using how many amount of voltages you're going to use on a capacitors. Now then, capacitors works in everywhere in our world. So for example, air conditioner. Air conditioner have capacitors which supplies power and stable the voltages that we use. What makes a capacitor works is using electrons, particles, positive and negative, and electric charge. So when you have a capacitor in a circuit, which as you can see in this diagram right I have here, is we have a battery, a resistor, and a capacitor. So as you can see here, you have positive and negative electrons. So when you have a capacitor in a circuit, the negative electrons, which in the bottom, will flow to the current as well as the positive, but going to the opposite direction. So the negative electrons will flow around the circuit, and the positive electrons will move the circuit as well, but the other way around. So it will move constantly around and around and around to the circuit. And as you can see, if you switch off the circuit, which is possibly the light, the capacitor will stop running the electrons to the battery. So when you turn on your lights on your home, electrons are going to flow through the circuit, which will provide light to your house. Alright, so our last circuit element that we will talk about is inducers. So inducers, as you can see here on this diagram up to the right hand corner, you have an inducers, which is a swirl component that's around it, stores energy in a magnetic field. What the inducers are used for is supplies energy to the current when it is not being used. So, for example, you have this diagram that we have right here. You have the battery, you have the resistor, you have the switch, you have the inducer, and you have the LED, which is the light. So, imagine if I turn on the switch. You have all the particles, which is the electrons, flowing to the circuit, and it's running the light, going around and around and around and around. But when you switch off the light bulb, this the it was the particles of electron will stop provide light, but the inducer is storing energy. So it's storing energy. As you can see here, the inducer is storing energy, which is flowing through the lead, which is going on and on and on. So to put it more simpler terms, imagine you have no imagine you have a water pipe which is flowing to the source and everything, and you have two directions. So as you can see here, the left side, which is nothing normal, it's just flowing everywhere. But the other side is a water wheel, which is pushing the water. So as you can see here, it's containing all the water. It intersects each other, which means it provides more water. Which I don't know what to explain it, but like basically the inducer is a shortcut device to flow more energy in the light, and it will keep us going until the energy will stop, flowing energy to the light. And earlier, I'm sorry for so when you turn off your lights, remember, energy is still flowing on the inducers, which means it's still running through your light until it's no longer flowing. So I want to. So that's it for today, you guys. So I'm sorry, you guys, that I studied a lot, or I may have some information wrong. But this is my first time using a presentation, which is being recorded and everything. So I want you to know what are your comments, and what did you like and what you don't like, what I'm missing, and what we think I need to add. Anything you want to know, anything you want to know that I need to be improved, please comment the video. And again, I'm really sorry that I stuttered, but yeah. So thank you guys for watching, and I hope you have a great day. Peace.